One. And Shabbat Shalom to all of our folks who are out there viewing things from 3 different angles. Now I know that whenever I decide I have to pull my pants up here, you're going to get to see it. So that's great. I have to say you're all looking very good. And no doubt that's because you're vaccinated. So that's fantastic. Welcome to Congregation Kol Ami. We're delighted to have some of our visitors. We're going to start out with a little wordless melody in Nigun to just get us in Shabbat mood. And then we're going to shift just momentarily to community. So.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Oh, sorry, I ended it.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just wanted to keep going. I'm back. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Tanya. Tanya is our soloist for tonight. We really appreciate her. And it is indeed time for community. That is foremost in our mind because, of course, we're celebrating with the Muniz family as Max celebrates his bar mitzvah. And so we're delighted that this community event is happening this week. But there are little moments of good and blessing that are happening to us all the time. And we try as much as possible to highlight those things, to make you think about the simple things that are going well in your life, that have been pleasing to you. And hopefully you're willing to share with us so that we can rejoice together as a community. So I'm going to begin by giving you the list of some of the things that we know are happening in our community that are tohu v'racha, good and blessing. First of all, it's my anniversary and Robin's anniversary. They happen to be identical. And that is absolutely fantastic. And I quite unintentionally posted, it was our 35th anniversary, and Robin said it's our 37th anniversary. And I said, time flies when you're really happy. So that's our anniversary. And then Ephraim and Allison Selensky are also celebrating their anniversary. So mazel tov to them. We also have a number of birthdays happening this week. Luca Bourne, Henry Dower, Penelope Dower, Julie Greenberg, David Kaplan, Lily Meehan, Steve Deutsch, Matilda Dower, Pam Feldman, Kate Hunter, Thomas Manzuri, and Dr. Daniel Zohm. So who else has a good and blessing to share? Yes, share with us.
Well, I'm having a birthday.
Mazel tov.
I've got my family from California.
All right.
And all the way from Aubrey.
All right. It's good coming and blessing going. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Who else has a good and blessing to share? Yes, Richard.
I had the fortunate opportunity to have lunch with a friend of mine that I have not seen in almost 2 years. Part of it, obviously.
Yes. Well, and you know, we're all having those little reunions and they are very sweet, I have to say.
Just a variation of being I'm blessed to be surrounded by the love of my beautiful family. We're from out of town, kind of, but our family's here. So
right.
We're always here.
Well, great. We're glad that you came down to make the trek here, and there we go. We're here for Max, I assume, and that's great. Who else has a good and blessing to report? Anybody? Yes, Sarah.
I've had had a few bonus days off, just preparing for Max's Awesome Day and spending extra time with family from out of town.
That is, you got to take advantage of the opportunities when they come. So anybody else, any last calls here before we go on? Yes, Brian.
I just closed 2 weeks ago my first post-pandemic play. And it was at Richardson Theater Center, and it went extremely well. And audiences were back in full force, and it was great to be.
Kol Kavod. It's comforting always to hear a return to the typical. I won't say normal. We're still struggling with the concept of normal, but it's more in the typical experience, and that's great. Did I see another hand over here? Was Mia just adjusting her hair? I think she was just adjusting her hair. Okay. Well, with that, it's time to get Shabbat started. And of course, Shabbat, not really an event. It's more of a process. So we're going to get started with the kindling of lights, but we're going to be working our way up to it liturgically and for a few minutes. But let's start by inviting Sarah and Mia up to kindle Shabbat lights. If you're using our purple prayer book, we're going to be on page 1. The Siddur Kol Ami on page 1.
In the beginning, when the Spirit of God hovered over the darkness, God's first creation was light. As we kindle these Shabbat lights, we attest to the majesty of God's work and rejoice in its beauty. Light is a symbol of divinity and creative goodness. It is the outward sign of that inner spark which God has granted each of us. In hope and with love, we now welcome Shabbat with light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam,
Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, b'tzivanu.
Praise are you, Adonai, whose presence fills the world, who hallows us with mitzvah and inspires us to kindle Shabbat light.
May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen. All right, we are now going to continue our process of entering Shabbat with the brief ritual called Kabbalat Shabbat. We're going to take a little time to recite and sing some psalms, and we're going to culminate with L'cha Dodi. We're in a little odd situation because normally it's our convention here at Kol Ami to close and open the sanctuary doors, but we're missing one. And so you just imagine it the way you imagine the Shabbat bride coming into the room, okay? So we're going to begin with Lechuna Ranana.
Or Zeruach.
Or Zeruach, that's right. You suggested Or Zeruach. So if you'll go to page 4, Psalm 97, Or Zeruach.
Or Zeruach, LaTzadik, Ulishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zeruach, LaTzadik, Ulishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zeruach, LaTzadik, Ulishrei Lev Simcha. Ulishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zeruach, LaTzadik, Ulishrei Lev Simcha. Ulishrei Lev Simcha. La 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 la
Adonai reigns. Let the land exult and the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds surround God. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne. God's lightning illumines the world, and light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. O you who are righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name. We continue now in English on Psalm 99, just as we allude to the image of God upon a throne, the image of Mount Zion. The location of the temple serves as the footstool to God's throne. So the metaphor carries through. Together, it is you who establish equity. You who works righteous judgment in Jacob, exalt Adonai our God and bow down towards God's footstool. God is holy. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down toward God's holy mountain, for Adonai our God is holy. And we continue now with Psalm 29. People generally consider this one of the oldest Psalms in the Psalms collection, maybe even very early Israelite. But in any case, it invokes the image of God gathering up the people as he comes in the form of a thunderstorm. You don't have the full text here, but Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, Hishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. So ascribe to Adonai, you children of God. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name, and worship Adonai in the beauty of holiness. May God give strength to this people. May Adonai bless this people with peace. We continue now the culmination as we enter into Shabbat with Lecha Dodi. We welcome the Sabbath in the form of a bride to join us with this mystical poem. It's traditional for visitors. Be aware that here at Kol Ami, we stand up and we face the entryway and we bow to welcome the Sabbath bride as she comes in. So, Lecha Dodi, page 7.
Lecha dodi likrar kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrar kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrar kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemu tiferet ve'letila. Lecha dodi, Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcham, Tishmi kore haveracha, Veirosh mikedem nesucha, Sofa asem b'machmatila. Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoriri, Ki ba'orech u'mi'ori, Uri shir daberi, Kevod Adonai ala hitnigla. Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Ive shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha ubetola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala. Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala, Nei Shabbat לקבלם.
So come in peace, you crown of your husband, with rejoicing and with joy, to those who are faithful, a treasured people. Come, O Sabbath, come, O bride. We're going to continue now on page 9 with the Hatzi Kaddish.
Let me get there, hang on. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Oh, I know. I thought the bar mitzvah was doing it. What page is it on?
Page 9.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'almal devirak yirutei v'yamlik malchutei. B'chayechonu yomechon u'chayei techol bet Yisrael. Bagala bagala uvizman karib v'meru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam u'lalmei almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yithalel v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu leila min kol bechirata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma b'meru amen. Please stand if able.
Now turn towards the altar.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chol ma'arim arvim.
בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עיתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, משמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, כולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. מעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו. El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Hamrim Arvim.
Shema. Unending is your love for your people, the house of Israel. Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts have you taught us. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night we will reflect on them,
for they are our life and the length of our days. And then your love shall never depart our hearts. Blessed is Adonai who loves the people of Israel.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol nafshecha no'im lecha v'hayu adarim ha'el asher Elohim hazarcha hayom
Amen. Emet ve'emunah. Emet ve'emunah kol zot v'kayam aleinu ki hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'en zulato v'anachnu Israel amo. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good and beautiful is this eternal teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, shield of our salvation. Adonai, our God, you redeemed us from Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this, the people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you. Living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud, raises the lowly, who frees the captive and redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out. All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing. Like Moses and Israel, we sing this song of rejoicing. Michamot, everyone.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nevdal b'kodesh, Norah tehilot oseh peleh. Norah tehilot oseh peleh. Malchutecha u'kavanecha bodkei hayam livnei Moshe. Ze'eli anu ve'amru, ze'eli anu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nevdal b'kodesh, Norah tehilot oseh peleh, Norah tehilot oseh peleh.
And now we shift from remembering our people's salvation to the idea of our personal protection and redemption with Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Grant that we should lie down in peace this night, Adonai our God, and raise us up tomorrow, O sovereign, to a life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake, be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai haforech sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru v'Yushalayim. We continue now with the next part of our service, Tefillah on page 17. Whether you can rise in body or rise in spirit, we invite you to rise.
Adonai, Sefatati Tahu, Vianita Ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah, El Yom Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher HaSteot V'imot, Umehi Ulali Beinehem, Lamanu Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Nabim, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Sara. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Tara V'Hoshia. Michael Chaim v'Chesed, Michael HaKol v'Rachamim Rabim, Tzomek Novim v'Ropei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, Mishenei Achar, Michamocha Adivurot, Umidom Elam, Melech Menid Umechayeh, Umatzliach Yeshua, Ne'eman L'chayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim V'Kol Yom Yechavlu B'Selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated, everyone. And we continue with celebrating the Shabbat by singing Vishamru on page 21. The children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, observing Shabbat in every generation as an eternal covenant. It is a sign forever between me and the children of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God rested and was refreshed. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We continue now with Reitzei, acceptance of our prayers. Adonai, our God, show favor to your people Israel and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people always be acceptable to you. For you alone do we hold in reverence. Modim. And we give thanks to you, Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation for all generations. We thank you and we recite your praises. Let all the living affirm you and praise your name as the God of our salvation and help. Praised are you, Adonai. Goodness is your name. All praises to you. We're going to close out with a prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, on page 23. And after that, we're going to take a few moments for our own silent prayers and our own silent meditations.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Ose shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru v'meru amen. Ose shalom bimroma, יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו ואמרו shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Amen. So, the twisted path to writing a sermon. I thought at the beginning of the week that I was going to write a sermon about twisties. All right. Twisties, we now learned, I didn't know before because I'm not a gymnast, is this condition, not a psychological condition, but a condition where you lose your ability to feel oriented to where the earth is. So that when you're spiraling through space, you have a sense of where you're supposed to land and how you're supposed to move. And I thought this was a very intriguing concept. So, I type into the computer twisties and stick, because of course you try and stick your landing. And lo and behold, I came across something completely different. So I am going to talk about twisting and sticking, which in English parlance refers to holding or taking an extra card in blackjack. All right. So hit me, as they used to say. Well, so it got even more complicated than that. I discovered that an English colleague, Rabbi Jeffrey Gordon, who spells his name exactly the same way I do, which was a plus, writes about the Yiddish version of blackjack called kvitlach. All right. And kvitlach is this game. It's played just the same way as 21, but they had a special set of cards. They didn't have the traditional Western cards. So instead, they just had cards numbered 1 through 10. And otherwise, it works exactly like blackjack, right? And so you get dealt 2 cards, and the aim is to get near 2, but not over 21. The key question is, according to Rabbi Gordon, stick or twist, hold or hit me. All right. And I do want you to understand that a good part of the sermon is directly from him. I've constructed it around him for my own purposes. So I want him to get full credit for this. All right. Do you want another card? Will it give you more points? But it could send you over 21 and you go bust. So now you've got a great hand, and a great hand is what? 19, 20, or maybe even the awesome 21 already in your hand. And of course, you stick, right? But what if the score's lower? Not incredibly lower, like a 4 or 5 or 6, then you definitely have to twist. But suppose you find yourself in the 13, 14, or 15 range, right? It could go either way. So there's a risk in asking for another card. If you have a 13, a 9, a 10, in the case of blackjack, a jack, a king, or a queen could knock you out. And that's a lot of cards to have to dodge. Now, I'm no card player, so I pulled out a parallel from a more Jewish perspective. In the Babylonian Talmud, it tells us the story of how when the Romans were sieging the city of Jerusalem. The Jews who were defending the city, in order to fortify the defenders, announced that anyone seeking any kind of compromise with the Romans would be killed. I'd call that a stick. All right? That's sticking in a big way. Our hands may not look very good right now, they're saying, but we're not twisting. We're sticking with what we have. We're going with what we've been doing. But there was one person in Jerusalem, a notable rabbi known as Yochanan ben Zakkai, who looked at the starving masses of the city. And he looked at the mighty Roman legion surrounding the city, arrayed beyond, and he said, I think I'll twist. So what did he do? According to the Talmud, he stages his own funeral. He pretends to be dead. His disciples arrange to get him carried beyond the walls of Jerusalem, and he ends up hopping off of his bier and running right up to the Roman general and negotiating with him for the future of the Jewish people. He makes a deal that's different from the cards that's been handed to the people of Jerusalem. And this stick or twist cuts right to the birth of Judaism as we know it today, the rabbinic tradition, the temple, the home of the priestly system of worship, and the singular center of Jewish life up until the first century was, as we know, eventually destroyed by the Romans, burned, and the people of Israel went into exile. Holding didn't work out so well. But because Rabbi Yochanan twisted, Judaism was transformed, but survived. The priestly thing went from being the very essence of Jewish worship to a very small element here and there in our tradition. And instead of Jerusalem being the singular center of Jewish life, here we are in this shul in North Texas, surely the true equivalent of Jerusalem, with a rabbi and a soloist singing, and we suddenly discover, oh, lo and behold, we don't do sacrifices anymore. We don't do any of that old sort of stuff. And the greatest player of the twist to transform, survive, and survive is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who smuggled himself out. Now, in telling the story of Ben Zakkai's escape, the Midrash continues with another story about him walking through the rubble of the recently destroyed city and going to the temple with a colleague, one of his younger students, Rabbi Yehoshua. And Rabbi Yehoshua sees the smoldering temple in ruins, and he cries out with despair, the place that brought teshuvah, that brought redemption for the sins of the people has been destroyed. And he thinks everything's gone bust. We lost the gamble, right? But Ben Zakkai replies, we can still gain atonement through deeds of loving kindness. He quotes the Psalms and says, the world is built upon mercy, upon chesed, upon loving kindness. Olam chesed yibeni. No, we have not gone bust, he says. We're still in the game. We twisted, and we're ready to play our next round. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai gambled on a whole-scale transformation of life, from hierarchy and offering, from religious formalism and ritual performativeness, to an interlife, a religion centered on the self, on acts of kindness and repentance that is effected through prayer, not sacrifice, reflection, and personal improvement. And here we are, 2,000 years later. Twist or stick? Let's turn to the now. While the rates are as high today as they were back in the very early days, we're now coming into the month of Elul, the time to reflect upon where we want to be and where we're going, when we've just started the return to a public sphere. And I know it's as exciting for me as it is for you. And we're asking ourselves, and our leadership is asking ourselves, stick or twist? Do we stay with the current plan of continuing to open up, or do we have to go back? Is it the more prudent thing to decide? The fact of the matter is, we seem to have been dealt a 13, 14, or 15 in this particular case, right? And we have to play it as best we can. What are the cards we've been dealt? Not great cards. This is the question we're facing. Sticking is a reasonable plan. All we want to do is return to how it was once before. For some of us, we've been kept away from what we knew. We've been given the chance to go back to what we like, what we're comfortable with. We're rebuilding what we've lost. Some people have lost a lot. For some, it was a completely shambolic mess before all of this, and we're trying to twist into something new for a while. But I suspect for most of us, we're still stuck with those middle numbers. We're just not sure what we're supposed to do. And I want you to understand that the leadership of this congregation is holding the same set of cards you are. Last night, we had an executive board meeting and we went back and forth on what should we do as the high holidays are coming up. Are we going to mask up? Are we going to require people to mask up? What about religious school? What are we going to do about that? And of course, in the best Jewish tradition, to a certain extent, we decided not to decide, right? We said to ourselves, you know, we can shift relatively late. We know how to do this now. So we can adjust as things go forward. But the fact of the matter is we all feel that sense of not sure how to play the hand we've been given us. Now, imagine that one of the cards we have is our Jewish lives. And imagine that each card isn't the bearer of a score 1 through 10. Imagine instead that the card portrays our reality in one particular area of our lives, a card as a parent, a card for our child returning to school, a card for the leadership of our community. What would the card say about our frustration, our dissatisfaction, our willingness to take risks? What about putting other people at risk? It's a pretty big, difficult deck of cards we've got right now. But you shuffle through them, a couple really stand out. There are a couple you really want to play. You want to see those in your hand. What are those cards? What if we could choose the cards we put before us? How about your Jewish card? You haven't had a chance to play it so much in the last 18 months. So maybe this year you want to stick to it, right? You want to put it out there. It might help with a bunch of stuff. That's at least how I would tell you it would work. It makes you a better descendant. It makes you a better ancestor, a person more resilient, I believe, to the ebbs and flows of all the things that buffer us. But if you're going to stick with the Judaism card, is there something that has to still twist? Are you still going to flip your card in a special way, the way Yochanan ben Zakkai did? Are you going to take 2 cards, take an extra card? You're going to lay something aside and look at them in your own way and decide what's going to happen in your mind's eye. That's the best we can do right now. We can only speculate. So as you turn over your cards and you think about whether you want to add to that, think about what you think will most make you brighter, stronger, better. That's the question for us all as the Delta variant makes the future murky once again. We're back at the table with Kvetlach, all right? And by the way, you want to be careful with the word Kvetlach because that's very similar to the Yiddish word Kvetlach, which refers to a letter you write either to God or to a rabbi asking for a favor. All right. So you want to do a kavet lach, not a kavet lach, when you're gambling for the future. Look at, we're rapidly entering the days of awe, and as we prepare for the coming of that time of decision, we have to ponder our cards. Our leaders are doing the best they can in making their decisions, and I know you're trying to make the best decisions you can. We can stick, we can twist, we can't know for sure. Change is possible and it may be necessary. But either way, I think it's going to be worth it. Our community, our health, and even our lives are on the line here in a certain way. So hopefully you at least have a better frame of reference for how you're going to play this game, how you're going to play the cards in front of you. And hopefully even better, you understand how we, the Jewish community, have to decide how we play. And be patient with us. We may not get it right. We may come up short. We may go overboard. We don't know yet how it's going to play out. But if you are patient with us, if you remember what it means to play blackjack, then you'll understand what we're dealing with as a community. And please be patient in the coming weeks. Shabbat Shalom. All right, so it's time now for our announcements, and it's my delight to invite up Melissa Trapani, our Vice President of Tikkun Olam. She does our announcements, and we'll do our Mishabeirach. Thank you, my dear.
Shabbat Shalom. So for announcements tonight, Rabbi will be on vacation. Rabbi will be on vacation from August 8th through the 21st. Services and other events will still be held as normal. If there's an emergency that requires rabbinical assistance, please reach out to Bob in the office. He has all the contact information for Rabbi Ben Sturman, Rabbi Dennis's backup, and can get you in contact with him immediately. Religious School Open House. All students and their parents are invited to our Religious Open House on Thursday, August 19th at 6 p.m. This is a drop-in event, so please join us at your convenience. The teachers will be here until 7:30. It's a great opportunity to get to meet the staff and fellow religious school parents, as well as ask any questions you might have about the upcoming year. We hope to see you there. Religious school registration. Speaking of the religious school year, it's not too late to register. We're very excited about the upcoming year and have lots of great stuff planned for our students. Don't miss out on all these great things. You can find the sign up for the religious school under education menu on the website. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Bob in the office. Religious school starts at 9 a.m. on Sunday, August 22nd. Introduction to Judaism. Our yearly Introduction to Judaism course will starting on August 31st at 7 p.m. There's no cost for the course other than the books. If you have any friends or family members that might be interested in this 13-week course to be held on Tuesday nights, please send them to the website to get all the details and sign up. The video broadcast team. Bob needs you. Now that we have all the video equipment permanently installed, we are ready to start assembling a video broadcast team to help Bob out with Friday night services and High Holy Day broadcasts. Bob will train the team members in audio and video production. It's a great opportunity to pick up some new skills as well as help out the congregation. The only requirement is that you're a high school age or older and have transportation to the shul. If you're interested, please reach out to Bob in the office via phone or email. Mazor Drive. We're extremely pleased to announce that our Mazor Drive was a success. We were able to acquire all the Mazorim we had hoped. The orders have been placed and we are just waiting on their arrival. Special thanks to everyone who was involved and helped make this a huge success. As always, you can find all the specific details for these announcements and anything else you might need on the website. All right. May the one who blessed our ancestors also bless Harry Anthony, Natalie Bovino, Maxine Collins, Sandy Cook, Dave Cook, Jerry Dietz, Pat Ducar, Gordon Ellison, Tammy Ferris, Debbie Freed, Michelle Griffith, Ken Hirschman, Jody Hoffman, Deb Kaufman, Lauren Koenig, Alex Koenig, Deb Layden, Sandy Lesner, Steve Meyerdirk, Karen Moore Canicoli, Gavin Olds, Lisa Paley, Herbert Paley, Paul Redwood Jr., Sandy Garber Rubin, Adrian Sandler, Myra Schusler, and Mark Tepperman. Is there anyone else in the room that I can add? Yes. Okay. Yes.
Sue Berger, Tom Holiday, Jay Harris, Harry Jefferson, Barry Kaplan, Bill Factor, Lori Miller.
Thank you.
Matt Hampton.
Thank you.
You can find the Mishaberach on page 40 in your prayer book. It's also on your pamphlet on the back.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor Havraha Laimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor havracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
All right, we're now entering into the closing phases of our service. We're turning to page 82. And as been my custom lately, I'm just going to invite the entire immediate family to come on up and open the ark. So I'm putting Mia and Max in charge of opening the ark, and maybe we're going to make Sarah and Mark close it. So come on up, guys. Everyone, please rise if you're able. All right, you two, go ahead and pull out and pull away. Alléluia, chantez à point d'homme à pôle, la tête du monde célébration, Shalom, son, gloire, haranson, the Lord, Samanu, Mishpapot, Hadama, Shalom, son, Kelpi, Kaden, the God, Aleinu, Kehol, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נותן שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינה תוזו, וגודל מרומי. הוא אלוהינו ואלוהינו, עמק מלכנו אפס זולתו, כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום, והמחשבותה כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחתינו. Siblings step back, parents step forward and close the ark. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shamo echad. Our lives, O God, are in your hands. In you we trust. Whatever may be our destiny, we know that you will be there. Though we may not fathom the mysteries of life and death, we know of your gift of life, at which each of us has treasured. So no matter what the final end, let us rejoice in the sweetness of the past, our faith in the life to come. There will we find you, your love, and your blessing. And so at the end of the service, we take time to think about all those individuals who have shaped our lives, whether they died recently or at this season in years past. I begin by asking, is there anybody here in Shloshim, anybody, Shiva? Is there anybody who's lost a loved one in the last 7 days? That's good. That's good. Shloshim, anybody lost someone in the last month? Please.
My grandfather,
Thank you. Here in our congregation, we want to call these individuals connected to our communities whose yard sites occur this week: Dorothy Bender, Bella Biller, Catherine Hart, Barbara Hoffman, Samuel Jaffe, Sally Mortal, and Joel Persky. Is there anyone else observing a yard site? Yes, my dear. Thank you. All right. The memory of all these people are here with us. For those who remember them, I hope their memory grows sweet with the passing years. The rest of us would like to show our support and kindness by reciting Kaddish on page 85. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayecha yomecha u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael v'galal u'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach ve'olam u'lamei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah mim shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. And let us say, amen. Have a seat, everybody. So for our closing song tonight, we're going to do SI9, which is on page 99. It's number 15 from the Psalm. I lift up my eyes to the mountain. Where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Following that, we're going to invite Max back up. He's going to lead us in, stay put for a moment. Just giving you a heads up, it's coming. To lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. So, SI9, page 99.
Shamayim va'aretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim va'aretz Esa'enai El Heharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Esa'enai El Heharim
Max, come on up. Before we get to the Kiddush, come on. Yeah, you can leave that behind. I'm going to make you stand with your back to everyone because this is the most important lesson of all. It says right here, Under Armour. Every shirt I've ever seen him in the last 6-7 years says Under Armour. That means that he has been wearing his underwear on the outside for 6 or 7 years. So with that kind of confidence, I have no concerns about him tomorrow. Okay. All right. So let me get you your text here. Page 86, if you want to follow along. All right. There you go. Kiddush for Shabbat.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei peri hagafen Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher hishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza b'anu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinkilanu zikaron l'maaseh b'reishit ki hu yom tefillah la'mikrei kodesh zecher l'tzion mitzrayim kivanu v'chata v'otanu Mi'ohanim v'shabbat kodecha be'ahava
L'chaim.
It's all yours.
All right, so what do you think of the wine? Okay, that's good, all right. So now, we, as a policy here right now, congregation, don't go away. We, as a policy here at the congregation, do not have onegs because of the pandemic. However, it may occasionally happen that someone will hold a reception. And as I understand it, there is a reception going on. I know not that much about it, but you are all invited to join me. And before, all right, would you join us in saying Motzi for starting our eating? Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. I'll be waiting to hand you a piece as you go out.